This guy is Mr. Ripped, a workout warrior with an insatiable drive to motivate and inspire people around the world. Loving husband to his wife, Laura, and powerhouse dad to his 4 children, and he's only 33, going on 34 on the 17th of December. For a punter with the New York Giants, he also played for the New Orleans Saints, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the New York Jets. Super Bowl champion 2012 with the New York Giants. He is a motivational monster on social media. Check him out, guys, on Snapchat, snapping about 200 times per day. Facebook, Instagram, you name it. He is a nationally recognized philanthropist with his primary outreach focus on children, health, fitness, and family, along with establishing charities of his own like Rush the Punter and Kicks for Kids. This guy is a super positive dude, and you'll see him on national TV shows, talk shows, fitness magazines. He's simply showing up everywhere, but he stays grounded towards his values, ethics, and his family, and that's what makes him unique and special. He also is an author of his killer new ebook, Armageddon. Check it out, crushing it with sales, reviews, and feedback from people receiving sleeve-busting results around the world. You can grab your guys' copy at armageddonebook.com. With great pleasure, I want to welcome to the show the shredded Steve Weatherford.
Hey, buddy. Good to be on here, man. It's been a long time coming, dude. We've been trying to make this thing happen for about 2 months now, but finally we couldn't find the time, so we made the time, man. It's good to be on with you.
I'm glad to be on here, but it's a real pleasure to have you on. Looking forward to dig in. You know, you with your busy life, you're filming, your kids, your family, your training, you're everywhere, bud, but you keep things in check. So what's Steve's secret?
I've always, I guess for me, I don't think there's really a secret. You know, it's for me, the cure-all has always been hard work, and I've always kind of hung my hat on being the hardest worker in the room. But my main struggle in life is my work-life balance, because I become so obsessed with the different goals or aspirations that I have for, you know, this week, with this month, this year, you know, this decade in my life, that when I become so obsessed and so driven towards achieving that goal, it's good for me to surround myself with people in my life, like my wife and my good friends that are like, hey, dude, it's awesome. We get it. You're the hardest worker and you're going to achieve this goal, but, you know, you're neglecting this facet of your life. So for me, it's more like you say, you know, how do you do it? How do you balance it? I don't balance it very well, but I know that's a weakness of mine, is I become obsessed and almost kind of a tunnel vision towards what I'm trying to achieve, which for me is a great thing, because when I do set a goal for myself, it's not if I'm going to achieve that goal, it's when am I going to achieve that goal, but also at what cost will it take for me to achieve that goal? Is it going to be relationships? Is it going to be time? Is it going to be finances? You know, what's it going to cost? Because everything has a cost. You know, there's opportunity cost. You know, there's the cost of your time. There's the cost of your finances. So for me, you know, I try to live my life very similar to the way a hedge fund manager or a venture capitalist would run their business. You know, you're always trying to weigh the risk reward, but at the same time, make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze, you know, in layman's term, in your own life. So, you know, I don't really chase my goals. I assault them, but that does come at a cost.
What's your approach to assaulting them? I got to hear this thing. This is a whole new approach.
Well, I mean, for me, looking back on when I really started to see improvement in my life, when I was self-aware, you know, I really was able to achieve uncharacteristically mature self-awareness at 14 years old. And I think I was able to do that because...
How Steve? I'm kind of curious. At 14, how?
I was 14 years old. I was 108 pounds, and I had so many dreams and aspirations for my life, but I knew in order for me to achieve those dreams and aspirations that were like so far away, I was going to have to like look in the mirror, self-assess, be real and honest with myself and say, okay, you know, and not just physically, and not just mentally, you know, spiritually, the whole thing. I needed to be real with myself, look myself in the mirror and be like, all right, If you're really going to do this, freaking buckle up and change these things about your life. Now, some of them were physical because I was 108 pounds. But in order for me to change the physical, I was going to have to change my mental, because I think, there's a really good Bruce Lee quote that I put on Snapchat this morning. Every morning I write morning motivational, either quotes or thoughts that I have for myself. And I really kind of do it more for myself than I do for anybody else. But I shared it a couple times and people were like, dude, we love those. Don't stop doing those. So here, let me pull it out. So it was a Bruce Lee quote that I really, really like. And it says, as you think, so shall you become. Mm-hmm. And that's the quote. And then my thoughts regarding that quote underneath were, your thoughts become your words become your actions, and your actions become your habits, and your habits become your life. So for me, I knew I was going to have to change my habits. I was going to have to change the way that I thought. I was going to have to change my thoughts. I was going to have to change my words. I was going to have to change my actions. And my actions would become my habits. My habits would become my life. So, and that's why I'm sitting with you right now, because during the course of 4 years of high school, I changed the way that I was thinking, talking, acting. I changed my habits, and those habits have led me to, have the ability to get a scholarship to college, the ability to play professional sports, the ability to play professional sports for 10 years, become a Super Bowl champion, find financial freedom, and now. I'm in a very, very small percentage of people who have been able to walk away from pro sports when they want to, versus when their age catches up with them, or their ability to execute declines, or they become too expensive. I'm a 1%er, and it's not because I'm like so insanely talented. It's I have developed other passions and other visions that I want to achieve with my life. And on January 1st of this year, when I'm thinking about, okay, well, what do I want to achieve in my life? What do I want to be known for? What do I want my legacy to be? It didn't have anything to do with being on a football field. And so I sat down, I talked to my wife, I talked to my oldest child, my son, and I was like, what do you guys think about if dad retires? And my wife was like, that'd be great. And my son was like, will you still get to talk to Odell Beckham Jr.? I'm like, yeah, buddy, I'll still talk to Odell. Yeah, man, I definitely want you to retire, because you can still talk to Odell, and we can go into the locker room, but then you can be home and go to my basketball games. I'm like, that's all I needed to hear, man. I'm freaking officially retired. So, and that's what kind of, you prefaced it with, introducing me and the Armageddon ebook that I created this year. And it was a passion project for me, because on January 1st, once I had that conversation with my son, and I'm kind of forming my New Year's resolutions, and I didn't know if any of my New Year's resolutions were going to have anything to do with the National Football League or pro sports. And so I wanted to talk to my family first before I formed those. And once I decided that those weren't in my future plans, because they weren't in mine, I just didn't know if they were in my family. So then I was like, okay, well, first thing I want to do is I want to become a better communicator with my wife. I'm not, I'm always so busy, and I don't need to find time. I don't need to make time for her. I need to invest time to be with her. So, if that means something as generic as putting it on the calendar and saying, for these 3 hours on this Tuesday night, I'm not doing the phone, I'm not doing the email, I'm not doing podcasts, I'm with my wife, and that's it. So, that was my first New Year's resolution. My second New Year's resolution was I wanted to read one book per month this year. And doing good on that. I've got one more book to go. And that might not sound like that much to some of you guys out there, but I have extreme ADHD, and it's hard for me to read more than 20 pages at a time, and my mind will wander, and I got to read it again. So the third New Year's resolution that I had for my life is I wanted to have 60 minutes at least 5 times per week with my family. I've got 4 kids. That there's no iPad, there's no iPhone, there's no TV, there's no electronics, and it's just our family investing our time into each other. And as I spoke of kind of living my life like a venture capitalist, managing my life that way, the most precious commodity that you have and the most precious commodity that I have in my life is not my finances, it's not my family, it's not my Super Bowl ring, the cars, the clothes, the house, it's none of those things, because you can lose those things, but you can always earn them back. Mm-hmm. But with your time, there's only 2 ways that your time can be utilized. You can spend your time, or you can invest your time. And for me, I wanted to take that 60 minutes 5 times per week and invest that time into my family. Now, when you invest something, the majority of the time that yields a return. Now, the return on that is nurturing the relationship, instilling confidence in my kids, letting them know they're loved. And then when I invest time into fitness, that yields a return of a happier, healthier, higher functioning human being. And the same thing is when you're investing time in meditation, the return on that investment is more clarity, more vision, more focus. And so during the course of my 24 hours every single day, I try to be very, very vigilant with the way that I invest my time. And there's nothing wrong with spending your time, Netflix, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. But I try to make sure that if I am spending time on those social media platforms, I want to have some type of return on that investment as well. So whether that's inspiring, motivating, or just sharing my story, my successes and my failures, because I think if I can share my failures in addition to my successes, it humanizes me. So the little kid that's 15 years old that's following my journey and thinks I'm Superman, when I share a failure, they're like, oh man, he's going through a tough time right now too. Let me see how he's going to handle it. And that's also inspiring to them as well, just as inspiring to them as them seeing me hold a Super Bowl trophy or wear a Super Bowl ring. When I fail and they see that and I share that, but I show them how I'm going to overcome it, to me, that's more inspiring.
Wow. So you talked about habits when you were younger, and you talked about this when you were 14 in the teenage years. What habits specifically did you develop that changed your life so much?
I don't even want to say ability. The routine of planning my life. Now, my life is never going to go as planned. Like what your 7-year plan is different than my 7-year plan, but your 7-year plan is not going to go exactly as you plan, and neither is mine. But, it's and I'm big on quotes, but, it's failure to plan is planning to fail. As cliche as that sounds, you can plan out the next 70 years of your life, and it's not going to go exactly as you planned it. But when I was 14 years old, the first real dream I had was I wanted to have a big family. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a big family. And then I also wanted to play in the NFL. And I'm 34 years old, and I've done both of those, Not to say that, there wasn't some adversities along the way. And, during my 10-year NFL career, I got fired 3 times, so it wasn't always like, hey, you get into the NFL and it's just, dude, you're walking on rose petals. Because as a punter, there's only 32 jobs in the National Football League. There's no backup punters. So you think about every year, they got a new crop of college seniors coming out, and every year they're getting better and better and better. The same way the quarterbacks are getting, the same way the running backs are getting faster, the defensive linemen are getting stronger. And so if I don't continue to evolve at my craft, it's cool to say, hey, I'm one of the best 32 in the world. But to be able to continue to evolve, to stay there, to me, that's more impressive. And to go back to your question, planning my life is I start at a very basic level of, okay, every Sunday night, I take 30 minutes and I plan out my goals for the next 7 days. And it's not a to-do list. It's not, hey, go pick up the dry cleaning. Hey, make sure you change the oil on the car. These are life goals, like, okay, on Tuesday, I've noticed that my daughter's having a little bit of trouble at school, and she comes home and she's a little bit sad. Why don't I take her on a daddy-daughter date on Wednesday night and just give her some alone time with me for me to, tell her how special she is and give her some confidence and let her know she's loved, like things like that. Like, to me, those are goals. Going, picking up your dry cleaning, making sure you're on this phone call or making sure you're at that meeting or you do this podcast. Those are to-do lists. I create goals, and then I also have a schedule. But to me, my main focus is my goals. And so I make a 7-day goal plan, but then after I get done with that 30-day plan, then Sunday night, I'll also take 10 minutes and I'll create a detailed plan for how Monday's going to go. And then at the end of every night of the week, so Monday night, I will go back in my phone and my notes section and review how I performed the goals for Monday. And there's going to be days where I absolutely crushed my plan, and there's going to be days where I just really crapped the bed. But when you self-assess and really kind of, for lack of a better word, when you self-scout yourself, that's what we do. Like if the New York Giants are playing the New England Patriots, the week leading up into the game, you're not only studying the film of your opponent, but you're also studying the film of yourself because they're studying the film of you. And you want to try to identify weaknesses that you have so then your opponent can't exploit them. So I self-scout myself for 5 minutes, nothing crazy. I just go through it and see where I was successful and where I failed. And then after I do that, when I identify where I failed, then I try to figure out why I failed. I'll figure out a plan the next day to try to create some type of manipulation to what I did on Monday to where I can be successful on Tuesday. And so it's kind of a self-imposed self-improvement assembly line, because every night, and it only costs me, 8 to 10 minutes to create the plan for the next day, and it only takes me 5 minutes to review how I did. So you look at that, that's 13 to 15 minutes per 24 hours that allows me to maximize the amount of time that I have in each day. And so if I do that for years, and I have done that for years, that's the only reason I'm successful right now, because it's great to work hard, and it's good to be a good person. But unless you can really get more done in 24 hours than the guy next to you, especially if the guy next to you's got more talent, he's got a better network, he's got more money, he's got better vision. How are you going to overcome that? You can overcome that by having, extremely detailed plans for the 24 hours that you have, and exponentially over time, the compounded interest of you doing 8% more than that other person over time, 8%, that's a pretty good freaking return, and we're talking about not a week, not a month, we're talking about years, so you show me somebody that's more talented than I am, I will out prepare them. So
interesting. Do you get that from your days in playing football?
No. It was just something that I've got ADHD really bad, and it was difficult in school, and I've got OCD, but not as bad as ADHD. But I use that ADHD and kind of that overabundance of energy, and I've tried to funnel that into something I was passionate about, and that was fitness, and that was athletics. And then I also learned to kind of take the learning disability or the handicap of having OCD and write out these very detailed plans, training plans for myself. And I was able to take the energy of the ADHD, the obsessiveness of the OCD, and take that into the gym. And that's how I was able to go from 108 pounds at 14, and then, at the start of school, and then you fast forward 4.5 years when I walked across the stage as a high school graduate at 225 pounds. And like the rumor in my little hometown of Terre Haute, Indiana, even my dad pulled me aside like midway through my senior year. He's like, "Hey," he's like, "I got to ask you a question." And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, I'm not mad at you, but if this is the case, I just want to get you help." He's like, "Are you on steroids?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." I've made so much progress that even my dad is like, dude, you on the sauce? So yeah, I was able to get exponential growth and progress and explosion and flexibility because I was so freaking dedicated to it. But I took what, the majority of society sees as an abnormality or a disease or a handicap, and I was able to kind of manipulate it for it to become, my greatest weapon.
So underneath that layer of you being so hardworking, being over-prepared, being that guy who's always on there, making it happen.
I don't think there's a such thing as over-prepared.
Okay, so here's the question I want to ask you. What drives you, Steve? Because you have this insatiable drive, and I'm watching your posts, I'm seeing what you do on social media, I'm sure everyone sees this, and underneath the layer of Steve, what drives you? Because you must have days where you're probably off some days, but you must find ways to get up, and what drives you, man?
I don't ever want to be like anybody else, Like, to me, it's just, I know I'm going to live one time. And I know there's only a very small window of opportunity that I can, and I'm not even talking about build a name for myself because I'm not really as concerned with that. But for my kids' legacy, when people bring my name up, whether I'm alive or when I'm dead, I want to be known for something, and I don't want to be known for the amount of income I made. I don't want to be known for the athletic achievements that I had. I don't want to be known for the failures that I had either. But what I do want to be known for is through those achievements, through the income, through the failures, how was I able to leverage that to impact? I want to be known for the impact that I had on people's lives versus anything else, because dude, Super Bowls are cool. Making a couple bucks is cool, but changing somebody's life and kind of the vantage point that they either see their life or the vector in which they're heading, So if you have an opportunity to go talk to a school of, a class of 20 kids, some people, the majority of people will go in there kind of ill prepared and say, it's a classroom of 12 9-year-olds. Like I went and spoke to my son's class the other day, but I walked into that classroom and I was fully loaded, like I brought so much intensity into that opportunity I had to speak to those kids. I scared the teacher a little bit because I came in and I was like, all right, kids, I'm going to teach you how to be successful in your life. Do you have dreams? Do you have aspirations? And then the kids were like, oh, because it wasn't career day. I think they had one other speaker come in before me, and he was like a writer. He was like a very soft-spoken, very cerebral type of person. Yeah. And I was in there for like the last 8 or 10 minutes of his speech, and I was like, if I'm sleeping, I knew those kids were like, get this bum off this stage. So
here comes Steve.
I was going to come in fully loaded and light those kids' faces on fire regardless, but especially after I saw Dr. Seuss walk out and the kids were sleeping. You know what I mean?
Oh man, you had those guys literally on fire when you left, eh? Steve's injection of intensity.
I had the teacher like hoping I wasn't gonna like MF the kids or like say something I wasn't supposed to say. So I got on her microphone and she was like, and I saw her basement. And next thing I know, the principal walked in. So by the end, and I went for like 26 minutes. And by the end of it, dude, I should send it to you and you should post it in the show. It was pretty funny. So by the end of it, I freaking lit these kids on fire, but by the end of it, the principal, I think she came to the classroom because she thought she was going to have to do damage control. But then by the end of it, she was like hugging me. She's like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Thank you so much. We've never heard anything like that. I'm like, that's right, because I'm cut from a different cloth. And that textile is currently extinct.
Wow, that is a good one, man.
So, that's a perfect example of over-preparedness. Like, do I need to, walk in with, teleprompter key points that I want to hit for 9-year-olds? Hell no. You know what I mean? But I took that opportunity because you know what? I think there was only 15 kids in the classroom, but I knew it was really going to benefit my son because he's heard me speak a million times. However, he listened from a different vantage point when he was sitting in that room and his best friends, his classmates were like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? It just means a little bit different. It has a different meaning for him because he wasn't sitting in an auditorium where I'm talking to 2,000 people and they're CEOs and, people that are more successful than I am, but maybe don't have the same life skills that I do. And they're more successful than me now, but give me time, buddy. I'm just getting started. So I think it was really impactful for him. But out of those 15 kids, if there was one kid that never forgets that, then for me, it cost me 30 minutes out of my life, but more than the time that it cost me it wasn't just my body being in that classroom. It was being committed to being there and trying to squeeze the opportunity out of the platform that I had, even though that platform was a little step ladder that the kids used to go pee-pee in the big kid toilet. I used it.
I think the principal and teacher probably got as much impact as the kids did.
Well, I know they did. I got like the nicest freaking email I could ever get from the teacher and from the principal. So it's really gratifying to do things that you love for people that appreciate it, because I really do. I genuinely love to do that. There's a lot of times that I get paid, $25,000 to go speak for an hour. And there's times that I get paid in other currencies to do it. And this was one of those times that, the other currency for me means a whole lot better than going to the bank teller and giving them a big check. I felt a whole lot better about it. I got more gratitude from the teacher and from the parent, and hopefully, one of those 15 third graders that heard me speak, are like, you know what, dude, if that bum could do it from, Terre Haute, Indiana at 108 pounds, I could do it,
So here's something a bit deeper, and maybe you touched on this in the beginning, but in basically your self-awareness and how you have that right now, what do you think is the biggest contributor to how self-aware you actually are? Because I can tell talking, 34-year-olds aren't like you, Steve. Okay, I've seen many 34-year-old guys, and they aren't like you.
Find me a 14-year-old or find me a 74-year-old that's like me. I'm cut from a different cloth.
You are cut from a different cloth. I can tell you right now, man. That's why I'm like really appreciating what you're telling me, because I'm learning like a sponge right now. And I'm wondering, like, when it comes to because obviously you have these things you mentioned that you deal with on a daily basis, right? But you're still conscious, you're aware, you're present. How do you do that?
Well, I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that are going to be real with you, So, dude, I've met over my, especially my professional career, a million people, I got 100,000 acquaintances. I don't have that many friends, And when I say friends, I'm not saying that for people to feel bad for me. I don't consider people friends unless they're real with me, dude, it's great that I did this or I achieved this or, I bought this for this family or whatever, but I need people around me that are going to cut through the BS, not tell me what I want to hear, and be real with me, because that adds to my self-awareness. So, if I'm doing something that I think is right, but maybe my best friend knows that my motivation is not where it should be, dude, she'll check me. She'll be like, and she doesn't care. Dude, she's a hairdresser. You know what I mean? It's not like she's some big swinging dick CEO. You know what I mean? She's a hairdresser, but I value her advice and I love her and I respect her. So to be honest with you, probably the biggest mentor I have in my life is a hairstylist. You know what I mean? She's real with me. I mean, and that's saying a lot, man, because my financial advisor, not the guy that necessarily handles my estate or my money, but the guy that I go to when I'm looking to make a big financial decision is about to become the president of the United States of America. You know what I mean? So I've got some freaking really powerful people that I know, and some of them are friends. But I would say the person that I go to for advice is a hairdresser.
You should come to Canada more, Steve.
I've never been to Canada. Well, I take that back. Technically, I've been to Canada, but I got a good story about that too. I know I have to get off here in about 10 minutes, but I've been to Canada one time. I was on the New York Jets, and we played the Buffalo Bills in Toronto, and we had to turn our passport in to the New York Jets front office, and they had to apply because there's some type of thing where you have to get almost like a green card, because technically when we go to Toronto, we're working, Yeah. So as an NFL athlete, you actually get taxed in every single city that you play in. So my tax return looks like Chinese. There's no human way I could do it. There's only probably 1,000 CPAs on planet Earth that can do an NFL player's tax return. So we had to apply a month early and came back like 2 weeks later that I couldn't get into Canada. You guys would not let me in.
Oh my gosh, man.
And I'm like, what? Now, at this point, I was in like my 5th year in the NFL. I'm like, I can't get into Canada. Why? They're like, well, they didn't tell us why yet. So we filed an appeal and they're going to give us. So I had to get special permission from the prime minister to go to Canada for like 36 hours. But the rule was I couldn't leave my hotel.
Oh, no way.
And then I found out that the reason that they wouldn't let me leave my hotel, so I was pretty much on like house arrest when I was in Toronto, was because I got in 2 fights when I was in college. And I'm like, I got 2 fights. I didn't even kill anybody. So,
you're a bad boy. You come to the border, you'll have to call the security control.
I'm a little weary. Next time I go through, they might not let me in, or they might not let me back out.
We'll deport you. Oh man, unreal, man.
They don't let the unsavory savages into Canada like me, man.
Well, give them that speech you gave the kids, and I'm sure they'll probably change their minds. They might come at you first.
The way the teacher called the principal, the freaking customs people would be like, we need to get the prime minister down here. This savage is about to bring.
Might become your best friend after that one, Steve. Oh, man. Okay, peak 5 questions, buddy. Peak 5. Okay, number 1. Right now, do you have a mentor or someone of a coach right now in your life? Yes or no?
Yeah, I have a lot of them.
Yeah? Do you have one right now that you would say is kind of like more influential to you right now?
I mean, my life is so dynamic. And what I mean when I say that is, I'm an entrepreneur now. I just became an author. I'm a business owner. I'm a public speaker. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a philanthropist. So there's really not any mentors that I've met out there that are like doing all of those things.
Right.
So really what I've been able to do is find the person, the public speaker that I admire the most, and I will pursue them for mentorship. Or the best dad I know, I'll pursue them for mentorship. The best husband, the best entrepreneur, the best business owner. And so for me to tell you there's one person that's more impactful than the other, if I had to say that, his name is John Carney, because to me, nothing is more important than being a father. He's the best dad I know. And he, just so happened that he played in the NFL for 23 years. So we share a very similar background, and playing almost a quarter century in pro sports is impressive enough. But dude, he's an incredible dad. So much so that I named his name is John Carney. I named my daughter Carney after him, and he's the godfather to my kids. So I'm not even Catholic, but I wanted to give him some type of honor aside from naming my kid Carney. And so if I die, he's getting the whole crew, man.
Number 2, what's one quote for you in all your life that you would say is the most influential quote you've used as to motivate and inspire you to the next level all the time?
You probably won't be able to see this, but it's right there.
I can't see it, man. What does it say?
It's a picture of Steve Prefontaine. He was the greatest distance runner of all time, and he was a guy who was undersized. He had one leg longer than the other. He was from Coos Bay, Oregon. Limited talent, maximal work ethic, and his story just resonated a lot with me, especially at 14 years old when, I've always been, I've got God-given athleticism, but I was severely undersized, and, at 108 pounds, dude, the girls weighed more than I did. So I always looked up to him because he was able to achieve legendary status just because he worked hard. And so the quote is, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. So that's kind of how I live my life every day. I want to take it to the max and squeeze the most I can out of every single day. And then over time, my workload capacity, my work ethic, has been able to and will continue to supersede people who are more intelligent, more talented, more connected than I am. So, I'm a big fan of Rudy Rudiger as well.
Number 3, if you could tell yourself 14 years ago when you're 20 years old, one lesson that you'd want to pass on to yourself at 20, what would that lesson be?
That's a good question. stay focused and stay the course. Trust yourself. And what I mean when I say that is, when you have a dream or a vision and you create goals to be able to get to that, and then you sit down and you write out a detailed plan, kind of like I do for every week. Trust that plan, and give it time. Don't become frustrated. Don't become overwhelmed. Don't become depressed when you have failures, because as long as that 20-year-old Steve Weatherford is learning from those failures, there's only two things you can do. You're going to win or you're going to learn, because as long as you're learning from that failure, you're not losing. So stay the course, stay focused, and trust the plan.
Number 4, if there was a book, a seminar, or a speech in your entire life that was the most influential turning point that motivated or inspired, what would that be? It could be a book, a speech, any talk it could be.
It was probably a quote that Tom Coughlin, my head coach for the New York Giants, read to us one morning. I'm going to have to look it up, so you're going to have to give me a second. But I have it taped on my mirror in my bathroom upstairs in my bedroom, and it says, "This is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use as I will. I can waste it or I can use it for good. What I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes and this day is gone forever, leaving in its place something I have traded for it, I want it to be gain, not loss, good, not evil, success, not failure. In order, I shall not regret the price that I paid for it."
Wow. That's huge, man.
So I really, really like that one. And so after the meeting, I asked if I could go up to his office and he could say it again so I could write it down. And so he wrote it down, and now it's been on my mirror and it's gone from house to house as I've moved around. But
that's gold. My gosh.
Super impactful.
Number 5, if there was something you contribute to in the world and there was no limits of financial constraints of any kind, what would that contribution be?
Like if I could give a gift to humanity?
Yes, of any kind. No limits of any kind. What would Steve give?
I mean, you think about it initially, you're like, oh, end world hunger or end, wars. But I think if you could give the ability, just a simple gift of giving people the ability to see things from other people's perspective, I think the world would be a whole lot kinder place. Here's a perfect example. You talk about world hunger. If you put yourself in somebody else's perspective and the struggles they go through to just find food for the day, we probably wouldn't be living in $3 million homes and driving, $150,000 cars. If we could afford that, we would see it from their perspective, and we would want them to be able to eat. And then, you talk about, all the different civil wars they have around the country, or all the terrorist bombings. If you could see things from, somebody else's perspective of religion, then you would probably not want to kill them. So I think just giving the simple ability to share somebody else's perspective would end all of that. And people would be a whole lot more kind and understanding to each other.
That's powerful, Steve. So, Steve, I want to round things off with the interview because this has been a really powerful interview. I want to say thank you very much for everything you've shared. Very authentic and very real. And I just really, really appreciate the gems you've shared with our audience and listeners, but also myself. So thank you, Steve, first off. Where can we find you online?
I am uber active. So whether it's Instagram, Twitter, or Snapchat, all of those are at Weatherford5. I just now, about a month ago, launched the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Steve Weatherford, I think. But, just type in Steve Weatherford, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm going to start feeding that thing pretty heavily with like vlogs. And then I've got a Facebook page that I'm equally as hyperactive on, but I would say the thing that I'm probably most active on would be Snapchat, just because for me that's real time. It's not filtered. It's like I'm vlogging my entire day and just sharing that journey, the good and the bad, with people. And And I've had some really, really good feedback. And it's like, it's cool to be acknowledged. It really doesn't mean that much to me, but Mashable, like I don't know too much about the website, but I know it's a popular one. So they did, there's 10 million daily Snapchat users, and they ranked the top 25 in the world, and they put me at 17.
No way, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
So that was pretty cool because they wrote like a blurb, so they did 25 people, and they wrote a blurb under each person's name, like why they deserve to be on the list. And everything they wrote about the reason I should be on the list was like exactly what I wanted it to be, like this guy's like, he's like a TV host and a radio host and a fitness freak and like a super dad and a husband and a philanthropist, and he shares it all. There's not like any one thing you should come to his Snapchat account for. But, whatever it is that you hope to find there, more than likely he's going to deliver it. So it was pretty cool.
That is sensational, man. What about your ebook as well?
My ebook is armageddonebook.com. And I wanted to offer this to your listeners and viewers. If they want to try the first week of the program and the first 20 pages, absolutely free. All they have to do is go to armageddonebook.com/free, put their email in, and I'll send them the PDF format and just kind of give them a taste of it. And they're going to love it, man, because it was a passion project for me. And I forgot to mention the last New Year's resolution that I had January 1st when we talked about that earlier was I wanted to get 19-inch arms in 90 days. And so because that was something that always bothered me about myself was, I'd been doing fitness magazines during my professional career. But if you go back and look at every single one of the games that I played, I wore long sleeves in every single one of them because I was self-conscious about the size of my arms. I could get my chest to grow and my abs were good and shoulders and all this other stuff. But for some reason, I could not get my freaking arms to grow. Oh, and so I developed this program for myself, but I shared that New Year's resolution on January 1st. And the reason I did that is because I wanted people on social media to keep me accountable. So if 90 days went by and I didn't have 19-inch arms because I started at 16.75, then people are going to be like, dude, all this motivation stuff you talk about, all this stuff, work hard. He's like, dude, you don't live it. And so I put pressure on myself. It's like self-imposed pressure. And, dude, 2.25 inches is a lot to grow in 3 months.
Wow.
When you're not able to take some vitamins that some people, So, but I didn't hit 19 in 90 days. I actually made it at 94 days, but I made it. And I would not have made it unless I put pressure on myself like that. But so as I shared that resolution and, during my journey on Snapchat and Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, people were starting to notice the size of my arms were growing. And they're like, dude, you got to put this program into like an ebook, man. I want to try this workout. And so by the end of the 90 days, I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it full on. I want to share what I ate, when I ate, what I trained, when I trained, how I recovered. And so it took me like 5 months to put everything into like a PDF format, build a website, and I did everything on my own because I wanted that self-fulfillment of creating it on my own. And the first day that I launched, like I said, I didn't do this as an income stream. I did this because I wanted to share this, and people really wanted to do it. And initially, I was just going to give it away for free. And because my main motivation was impacting people, but as I was talking to mentors in the fitness industry that were in executive positions, they're like, dude, at bodybuilding.com, like Ryan DeLuca, he started bodybuilding.com. He's like, really, honestly, if you're really motivated by impacting people and not making money, sounds crazy, but you're actually going to ask them to commit to this financially because the way we've been the human psychology, the way we've been conditioned, if somebody says something's for free, you're either going to do two things. You're going to assume it's not good because it's free, or you're going to get it because it's free, but because you didn't commit to it, because you don't have skin in the game, you're much less likely to start it and you're much less likely to finish it because you're not invested into it. So once he told me that, I'm like, okay, then good. Okay, then I can ask people to make a commitment to it. And like I said, this wasn't like a financial venture for me, but dude, I had 84,000 in sales in the first day.
No way.
80, but ebook,
Wow.
So, that for me was really, really impactful. And I'm pretty much just going to take that money that I've made over the course of the last 2.5 months. And, it was 80 for the first day, but it's been substantial every day since then. And, like I said, it wasn't a financial venture for me, but it was, the amount of money allowed me to kind of have a barometer for how successful it was. It's kind of like playing a video game. It's fun to play a video game, but you want to know what your score is.
Yeah.
And so the dollar amount kind of gives me a score. I'm like, wow, this was successful. Maybe I need to shift focus into creating another program that works well for me and share it with other people. So, knowing that there's a real demand out there for it motivates me to do more of it. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing as heavily in the fitness industry. Is I think there's a real void in the fitness industry for people. And I like a lot of the people in the fitness industry, but a lot of the people in the fitness industry are selling a pipe dream. They're saying, you do this workout and you take this supplement and you're going to look like me, where a lot of the times, a lot of people in that fitness industry are taking a whole lot more than the supplements that they're, getting a promo code commission on. So it's kind of, I'm in an advantageous situation because of my NFL career. People know I'm not into those vitamins. And also because I've built a brand based on, providing real value, real content, real support, and real motivation for people. So on social media, I don't really have followers. I have, a lot of them have become my friends, and there's a relationship that I have with those people. So, if I can grow it to 2 million followers on Instagram, that's great. But to be honest with you, the number of people that follow me is not nearly as important as the depth of the relationship that I have with those people that are following me now. So I would rather grow a deeper, more meaningful relationship with the 280,000 people that are following me on Instagram now than I would to grow to 1.28 million and not increase the intimacy of that relationship those people have with me and I have with them. So that's kind of how Armageddon was born. And that's kind of where I'm going from here.
That is epic, man. I love your story and just that you took your passion project and just hammered it into helping what you did, man. And 84 grand in one day is insane for an ebook. Ebook.
That's about what I was making per week playing football. You know what I mean? I was able to make NFL money selling an ebook, but the ebook itself, like the training program, is absolutely insane and it works so well. But one thing I did in that program for me that was super important, that's one of the reasons it took as long as it did to put it in, because it's not just a Microsoft Word document. There's every single exercise, there's 106 different exercise variations within the ebook, and for every exercise there's a video embedded in the text that you can click. It takes you to a YouTube explainer video, and it's a 35-second video for every single exercise, because I wanted this program to be effective to work for somebody who's been in the gym for 19 years like me.
Yeah.
But I also wanted it to be simple enough to follow for that 14-year-old kid that I used to be, that had dreams and aspirations about changing something about his body. Dude, I wish I had a program like this when I was 14,
Well, guys, you got to get this book, guys. Anybody listening to this episode right now, go to his...
I feel like I'm being really
Go to his...
It's the story of Armageddon, and you asked, and I had to tell you.
Now you can't come to Canada, Steve. We're going to stop you.
There's a reason they won't let me through with these guns, man.
Oh, look at those guns. Yeah, Justin Trudeau's going to say, no, Steve, go back to the U.S. and go with Trump.
Well, all right, brother. Well, it's been real, man. I got to go.
Awesome, bro.
I got to be efficient with my time today, man. But this has not been spending time. We invested. I hope everybody watching and listening has appreciated this. Matthew, thank you for your persistence and getting me on the mic, man. I've enjoyed it. I hope everybody else does, man. We'll talk soon.
You got it, Steve. Thanks so much, buddy, and have an awesome day, my man. Take care.
You too.